Japan is exactly like a video game. So one thing that I always found strange when playing Pokemon or other Japanese video games is that you always tend to get free stuff if you just go and talk to someone. And I thought, that's not realistic. Well, but then I went sightseeing to Japan to Kyoto Mizudera, where I ran into a group of young students who were eager to practice their English with me. And afterwards, as a kind of token of appreciation, they gave me postcards and food. Yes, snacks from their region. And then it dawned on me that Japan is exactly like a video game.
Welcome to another edition of Why Come Japan. I'm your host, Radri, where I interview creatives about their craft and how it relates to Japan. And today on my show, I should say, again on the show, is Nico, the Red Value. So Nico from the Red Value is a YouTuber, and he originally started out doing YouTube. But he's transitioned a little bit into doing TikTok, that little short video you saw there at the beginning. So, Nico, when you've been making a lot of these TikTok videos most recently, right? Mostly this year? And you've had quite a lot of success with it, right?
Well, the success is really recent. So, let's just say, as you start a new platform, of course, you have to... I started in around April. Pretty much exactly in April I started. That's already past where... it's already past the time where likes and views and subs were super easy to get. And back then, basically, I didn't have too much success on TikTok, but I kept going. And the thing is, the way TikTok works is different and similar to YouTube in both kind of senses. TikTok, in a way, took the world by storm because now, as YouTube transitioned into doing more long format, long videos, view times, and etc., it effectively killed the kind of short video industry that YouTube was actually originally built upon. And TikTok thus came in at some point as the YouTube view times just became insane. TikTok came along and just basically said, look, we have our short videos here, and that took the world by storm. That allowed, of course, for a ton of new culture to form and a ton of new ways of making videos to occur.
Now is a really good time to segue into the main topic. We're here to talk about KOK, also known as King of Kanto podcast, who was on this channel 3 weeks ago. And there's a reason for that, and there's a reason why I haven't uploaded any content. Well, because mostly that I arranged interviews with other guests, but they got cold feet and they decided to leave. And it was mostly due to the fact that I interviewed two people from the King of Kanto podcast. They weren't exactly friends of them. If you follow this channel, you would know who they are. I guess I kind of have to talk about them in order to, bring some context when I'm talking about. The reason why I'm talking about this today is not because I want to bring up drama. It's mostly just because I want to talk about what is this show and why is it important and why am I putting it out there on the internet. And I figured having Nico along would be a good person, to kind of react to what I'm saying, opposed to me just like saying something and just throwing it out there in the void. Last week on this show, there were supposed to be two guests. The first one was supposed to be Totally Drew, formerly known as Tokyo Drew. And then the other one was supposed to be Oriental Pearl. Now, I guess I could go into the reason. I'm not actually, there's a lot of what I'm going to talk about today. This is all speculation. I have no idea why Drew kind of canceled on us. The fact of all of it is, if he's listening or watching right now, I doubt it, but the biggest thing, a reason why I wanted an interview Totally Drew is because I wanted to know why he changed his name, and I kind of wanted to know how his progression has been on the internet. It was completely innocuous. It was nothing to do with KOK, the King of Kanto, because a lot of what their content is they just take a JVlogger of the week and they just kind of like dissect it, like to the very bare bones. They go for like very low hanging fruit. And I think a lot of times with them, a lot of them, they don't really like doing research that well, which makes people a little angry. Particularly with two of the former guests that were on my show, that they were saying, no, they got this wrong, they got that wrong. And which makes me kind of wonder how long they're going to be around. But let me ask you, what is your impression of King of Kanto if you have to say anything? You can say no comment. You can just respond however you want. If you want to remain neutral and not have any, affiliation with any of this, please let me know.
No, I think so. My thoughts are, let's just say, I like to take everyone's perspective into account. And one of my own perspectives is, let's just say at the start, like as my JVlog viewing career, I was a huge fan of Abroad in Japan. He was basically the one that got me into this viewing JVlogging thing, and through him, I kind of then ended up finding Japanese Man Yuta, and all the others. Victor, for example, is one that I ended up becoming friends with later on, one that I also viewed. And what my goal was before then is I kind of wanted to. I was actually searching, was so addicted to this JVlogging stuff. Like I said, I actually wanted to schedule to be able to watch every JVlogger all the time. Is that I was specifically looking for more people that made quality content. But as I started making my own JVlogging content, I noticed that what is quality is really, really hard to tell because everybody loves different things. And for me personally, my quality and the thing is, once I started making quality content, I didn't even know how to make quality content. I didn't even know if my quality beforehand was quality. It's really, really difficult to make the kind of content that you would yourself enjoy watching because you don't know what is quality. Let's just say someone, Agent X, let's call him Mr. X. He super into JVlogging, watches JVlogs, and says, you know what, I want to go to Japan and be a JVlogger. And he basically tries to says, oh no, that looks like easy. I can do that as well. That's easy, and get tons of views. And then they start making the content, and sometimes it ends up being really weird, and maybe Mr. X just isn't able to make content in such a way that he would actually himself enjoy watching it. The thing is, usually when you watch your own videos, you kind of like them more because you know much more about them. You have much more information about them. You have much deeper emotional connection. But putting that emotional connection onto someone else is difficult. And let's just say that's a point where you say, look at how many rubbish JVloggers there are. You know what I'm trying to get at. People
I know what you're trying to
may not be aware that the content that they're making isn't actually as good as they think.
Okay.
And I actually had a kind of and the thing is, maybe it's something special or unique about Japan, but people when they find out about Japan, are very obsessed about Japan, myself included, and they kind of just start watching everything. It doesn't even have to be quality anymore. And maybe some of these people just start to get success, and of course, that rubs others the wrong way, especially when you've been living in Japan for a while, aka Circle Jerk, aka King of Kanto. You're kind of seeing that, hey, they are not really putting anything out there that many people would say, they would say is quality content. And I think it ends up creating a situation where people are enjoying the critique of them, or just because people can see, right, this isn't actually that much valuable, there isn't much value in it, and why do people still, or a certain subset of people still watch it? And I think this is kind of where this ends up being. It's an interesting situation, and that's basically how the kind of King of Kantos and the Japan Circle Jerk basically forms, because it's really easy. It's actually really easy to critique content. It's not easy to make good content.
I probably should go into detail why Totally Drew canceled. I only really wanted to have him on again. I only really wanted to have him on the show, just to talk to him about how his experience has been, making YouTube videos in the last couple of years, basically, because he's had kind of a lot of growth, and I've been hearing here and there, like through maybe like Facebook or through friends, about how he's been showing up on this subreddit page called Japan Circle Jerk, and I'm like thinking, I wonder what this is. Of course I take a deep dive into whatever that was, and I got to learn about how a lot of the people on there kind of seem like they've hit this point where they've become very jaded, and they're very self-loathing of themselves, of living in Japan. Like they get tired of reading the same thing or seeing the same thing about Japan, or there's Japanese things that they just can't stand or they love, or they're having very conflicting relationship with. And then they see somebody like Drew, who they absolutely they love him. I mean, like, the dedication they put behind this man is it's phenomenal. And I'm like, why do they put this much effort into this? Like, what is it that he's doing that is so fascinating? And I guess, like, what King of Kanto kind of did was they kind of talked about, they went into a little bit that I guess from what I can understand is that the main offenses against him was him urinating in public and negging women through his live streams, which I don't really feel is something that is, I mean, okay, I think a lot of this stuff is bad, but I don't think it's like something you can go to prison for. Maybe it's something you'd have to pay, to, like, it's like a fine you pay or something, but maybe just the peeing in public. But I'm not sure about, like, negging women. I guess maybe that could be considered sexual harassment. I don't know.
I think the worst part is the pocket rocket thing. I didn't even know what that meant at first. And let's just say,
it's like, wait, King of Kanto is the one who taught you that? Is that true? Because I learned that too. It's not just you, if that's what you're saying. What's that?
I didn't know what it meant. I figured it out on my own at some point what it meant.
Oh, okay. But you learned that through watching Drew, not from actually...
I don't even know where I learned that from. I don't know. I am an active Reddit user, so I actually post my pictures sometimes that I edit on Reddit. Not on Circle Jerk, of course, but on the Japan Thick subreddit. So I probably sometimes, so I probably heard it from there. But genuinely, that is not okay. That is really not okay. That is personally one thing that I find the most annoying about it. It's, let's say, a situation, right? Because right now the thing is, no one in Japan knows about this, right? Imagine NHK comes out, makes a reporting about Tokyo Drew, that he films people, women against their consent, that he is rude to sales clerk, and then he calls young women pocket rockets. Imagine a imagine NHK or like another Japan outlet made an article or a video or a reportage about that. You know how quickly public opinion will shift against foreigners in Japan.
Yeah, you're very right about that. I guess I never really thought about if NHK came and they wanted to interview him. Yeah, that would definitely become a thing.
Let's say it for some reason they end up finding out about it, and they say, hold on a second, that is not okay, because it isn't. That is something that's absolutely not okay. And I think many foreigners, actually, including long-term residents, know that. Maybe they don't explicitly say that exactly, but the feeling is there that I have no issue, with someone going around live streaming or filming stuff, but the least bit you can do is be respectful. And the thing is, of course, disrespect goes to everyone. So even to Tokyo Drew himself.
Right. Well, I think one of the interesting things about the world we live in today is I kind of feel like we live in a world that's kind of this post-privacy world, that we're kind of reaching these moments in, like, live streaming and YouTube and TikTok, Twitter, anything for that a lot of it is we're kind of more questioning the ethics about a lot of the stuff that's being posted online, because we have a lot more records of all the things that are, I guess you could say, ethically questionable, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's just say, um, it's important to show people what is and what isn't okay, and to call out fellow people in the branch that, hey, what you're doing isn't okay. And that's honestly, if that is done in a respectful way, or in a way that um, then that is how to say, it's okay to call someone out,
Mhm.
because whatever someone does will reflect back on you in some sort of way if it's a bad thing. That's why I'm
Right,
saying it's
right.
absolutely okay. But it's also okay. The thing is, how, there is something that Batman says. For example, he says he doesn't kill because he wouldn't know. Batman doesn't kill because that would make him no different to his enemies, and he does that because he cannot be 100% sure of what that other person's background, reasons, and motivations are. As you can see, for example, in the Joker movie, Joker is someone who was completely knocked down by society all the time, and his revenge, you could say now, is justified. And how can Batman, who is living a life of luxury, say that he's something better than someone who had to struggle with everything his whole life?
Is this just the
That's why
Christopher
Batman
Nolan
says he.
Batman? It's not like, because I know there's like Frank Miller's Batman
The,
where he actually kills people. So
yeah, no, 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 the Batman that doesn't kill people. Typically, Batman says he sets himself as a rule. The only thing that sets him apart from his enemies is that he doesn't kill.
is
And
that
the thing
like
is,
part
that
of
is
the
something, that
Batman
is the
lore? I'm
reason
not too
why
familiar with like Batman and his
I just wanted to say,
background.
call that as a reference,
Okay.
because we can't be 100% sure what someone's like Toki Drew's or King of Kanto's or anyone's motivations really fully are, because I don't have full insight into your life, do I? I only have a subset of where we talk to each other. It is very difficult to make yourself a whole picture out of that, and that is why it's always good to at least talk to people. And I think your podcast is actually a good opportunity for that. I think I would have loved actually seeing Toki Drew state his point on this podcast,
Yeah, no, I
to
would
be
have liked to
honest.
have heard it too.
And I think
I I
absolutely, absolutely.
I think what the biggest thing was is because I tried to get a hold of Drew and he kind of just, well, I guess I should
Mm,
just say it. He blocked me on Facebook, and he also
mm,
and the only way I could really reach out to him, because he wouldn't allow super chat money, was the only way it was for me to,
mm,
donate to his Patreon, to like to say, hey, I mean, I'm not, I guess he sent it back. He rejected my patronage. So I guess
mm,
he labeled that as harassment, I guess, for some reason, because I associated myself simply with King of Kanto. Um, I
mm.
don't know how just asking somebody a question or questions associates me with, bad people. Like, if I interview a white nationalist on my show, is that a bad thing? Is it like, am I making the world a worse place?
Yes and no.
Yes and no?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Yes and no. I think the issue with Tokyo right now is that the dude has actually faced a ton of harassment. Let's just say the circle jerk was ruthless. King of Kanto was the strong zero on top. But generally, I think he even had situations where people would be nice to him for months and even years, and then suddenly, use that to gain leverage into his inside podcasts, into the private live streams, private conversations, private info, leak that back into the circle jerk. So I think the reason why Toki Drew was so upset about this association thing is that that the moment he saw like any sort of association, he immediately assumed the worst, and the worst what happened to him was people who really were friendly to him over a long period of time ended up being people actually, double agents in a way. And I think even though you didn't do anything out of the norm, I could kind of probably sense why he decided to what's it called? Why he decided to block
Block
you
me on
and
Facebook
assume the
and
worst. Let's just
return my
say,
patronage
assume
and
the worst.
take away my super chat abilities and everything.
It's I have no doubt in my mind. I've seen many of your interviews, Radder. You're a really, really awesome interviewer.
I try.
I've seen many
Here in
interviews
Why
where
Come
was the
Japan, we
guy.
try.
For example, yeah, absolutely, and that's also one of the reasons why Chris Broad. You had a chance to talk to Chris Broad. That was a really good interview as well. Um, you are a great interviewer, and I have no doubt in my mind that you absolutely had the best intentions in the interview. And I think it would have been a really great opportunity as well to get to know the insights. But the reality is, from Tokyo Drew's perspective, or the totally Drew's, is that anyone who has any sort of association is a risk. Anyone.
Right,
Like,
right. Which I do really worry about
that is
him, because I really do worry about him because, you know, especially if he wants to get bigger on the internet, I feel like the trolls are only going to multiply. I mean, I feel like it would have been great for him to be
Absolutely.
on here because he would have been able to divide most of them.
Exactly. That's actually, I think, in a way, what happened with Andy Son as well. You know, I like Andy Son. He has had a quite a good development as well, and he was ragged on a lot by the Circle Jerk, if I remember correctly. But the moment he basically talked on the King of Kanto, suddenly he was let's just say he was much better in the eyes of everybody. It's a neutral ground is a good opportunity to express yourself and show the people in the world your true feelings and your true colors.
Do you feel like King of Kanto tries a pretty good job of trying to be neutral, or they are neutral?
How I can't, I don't know how to define neutral. So I think King of Kanto very entertaining, absolutely entertaining. Um, how do you define neutral? I don't.
Yeah,
For
it's a good
me,
question. Switzerland?
King of Kanto.
I don't know. When I think of the word neutral, I just think of Switzerland
Exactly.
automatically.
Yeah. King of Kanto just said it very well. They treat their guests very well, and that's something that I felt as well. And I feel like a lot of the, how to say, what is the objective? How yeah, it's hard to define neutral. Who are you neutral for and against? I think King of Kanto, how it's really hard to put in words. Has a problem with people who think they're above others, let's say the least. King of Kanto especially rags on people who show off like their what they believe, how to say, people whose ego is higher than the content they provide. But from my own personal experience, I had an ego about my content. I thought I was the shit. Absolutely am. So back 2 years ago when I did my exchange to Japan, I thought my content is like, whoa, it's so great. Guys, you should all follow me. I'm amazing. And I believe that is something that many people have, and that is something that causes tension and friction. And, you know, seeing someone like that fall is actually, you know, it's how to say, satisfactory.
Right, well, that's
And
like, that's Schadenfreude. Or, you're German, you can pronounce that word better than I can.
I wouldn't even call it. It's really hard to call it Schadenfreude. But the thing is
Thank you.
people oftentimes when they go to Japan, they have a massive ego about the content. They look at JVlogs, think, hey, I can do the exact same. But the ability to actually create great content and determine what great content is difficult. So you think when you start out, your content is amazing. No, it's not. But you think it is, and you have a large ego about it, and that is then something that rubs off badly onto others, and that is something that you can criticize.
Right, because I've had a few people get a little upset at me because I'm trying to understand their argument. That especially like people like Tokyo Sam or a couple of others, where their main argument against them is that because they're very anonymous, their opinions don't really matter. Is what I'm think is what their argument is.
None of your opinions matter. Like come on, like
Okay.
come on, we're YouTubers. But what the hell? Like how does in any way or shape or form does any JVlogger opinion matter? Like it doesn't.
Okay.
Like what the hell are you supposed to do with your opinion? Yeah.
Well, the reason why I say like why their opinion matters.
Check out Cash for opinion.
Okay.
It's Yeah,
I think
exactly.
a lot of people are saying that because they're anonymous, this means that their opinions don't matter, but that also means that like they're putting that out into the internet, so it just kind of becomes part of the hive mind that a lot of people kind of become a little more self-aware that it's not just from, Japan Circle Jerk, which is, a name that, like, when you hear that name, it's just sort of like, oh my, I'm not gonna believe that, if you know what I'm saying.
Mm.
So I feel like I don't know, I don't really agree with that argument, but I maybe what some people dislike as well is to make it to make a long story short, they just don't like people yucking their yum. They don't like people yucking their favorite creator. They don't like people saying bad things about them, quote unquote. Do you think that's a fair
Yeah,
criticism?
it's yeah, absolutely. People don't like that, but honestly, I'd say this is. Let's just say I didn't get to where I am now if I didn't receive criticisms.
Mm-hmm.
I think criticism is a very, very good thing. And the thing is, what you need to understand as a content creator, the moment you create content, it's open for criticism. And the thing as a content creator that you also need to realize is the moment you get criticism, that's actually a really good sign. That means people care about your content.
Yeah.
And why get upset about that? Why get upset about that? Because a lot of people, they don't get a chance to even be known at all.
Right.
And the thing is, getting upset about someone critiquing you is like the worst thing you can possibly do. Of course, the criticism might not be perfect or it might be incomplete, but the thing is, as a creator, the best thing you can do is just take the stuff, think about it, and how you can incorporate it back into your own stuff. Um, that's how I feel. It's the worst thing is to get upset about someone talking about you, because attention is really, really, really.
Right. Yeah, no, I guess what you were saying earlier is that maybe Drew kind of had a a fight or flight response kind of with anything associated with the name King of Kanto, because he was associated with the people who sort of harassed him and were trying to dox him or whatever.
Yeah,
Which they've went on their show
I think so.
and they've talked about how they always draw the line at doxing. They would never go after someone, and if they do, I mean, I guess that's I think this is where kind of King of Kanto kind of draws the line, or like I'd say borderline is that it's sort of like it's almost borderline doxing. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I say the Cox they do a. It's just honestly, it's a brilliant wordplay. I really have to put my hats off onto that. And then just rolling so confidently with it is just it's brilliant. I have to say the least. But generally, what they do is at the end is what I heard is that generally there's a disclaimer: don't go after the people. We are critiquing them. We are not about hating them. And it's very, very good to say these kind of things.
Yeah, no, it's probably best to
Because
define that right away. So that was that thing. That was the thing that happened. So Drew canceled. I was also a member of the Discord that King of Kanto did, because before, like, it was basically nothing. There was a ghost town. There was nothing there. Fun fact: I was never really ever a patron of theirs. I mean, I'm very thankful to be in there. And so I feel like, and I should probably also mention that Tokyo Drew was also in the Discord as well. He joined and he paid some money. What's that?
that's probably the association that you made. He thought you gave him money, and in that
It's possible,
sense,
yeah.
you're literally stating you're a fan of theirs, and I think that's exactly what maybe put Tokyo Drew over the edge. And I think the issue is that there was like a little bit of a lack of communication between you and him beforehand.
I think so, yeah.
That's
I
what
really
I can
definitely
feel like.
think there
Because
was a big lack of
to be honest,
communication.
I did feel like something like that's was gonna happen. I noticed you had interviews both King of Kanto and Tokyo Drew, and I was like, huh, Tokyo Drew might be upset about that.
Yeah, no. This is where I'm going to say I think I really made a mistake. I think really what I should have done was I should have messaged Drew ahead of time to saying, hey, I interviewed King of Kanto because, the timing was right, and I really like the kind of content they're putting out there. It's entertaining, it's interesting, it's edgy, it's...
Absolutely.
And I kind of feel like I kind of biffed it there because I didn't really say anything because Drew was going through this moment of like getting new teeth and something he was going to the dentist because it gets cold and everybody needs to get new teeth or their teeth checked or something, right? And what was fascinating about this was that Drew joined the King of Kanto Discord. I think he even paid the money. Maybe, I'm not entirely sure, but. To me, that gave me a really strong impression. Like, wow, Drew, what are you doing here? Yeah, like they're gonna eat you alive. And I was also thinking at the same time, wow, he's trying to make, he's trying to divide people. What he should do, or I don't know what his thinking was. But yeah, he was in there for a little while. So that was the thing.
Fun fact, Tokyo Drew is actually the first JVlogger I ever met.
Yeah, no, you speak... I mean, the first time I've ever met you, you spoke very positively about him. Like, very, very positively.
Actually, yeah, because it was great fun to hang out with him. It was a good time, the evening that we had. We drank strong zeros as well. And overall, that experience was positive. And the other positive thing that I mentioned is we had a really good conversation about what we believe a good video is. That is what I wanted to say earlier. What is a good video is a really, really good question to ask. And for me, back then I was like, yeah, you have to edit like crazy and knowledge and stuff like that. But Tokyo Drew always said, no, keeping it real. I don't like editing. I like it raw and back then I didn't understand what that exactly meant. But over time I kind of realized, hey, what does it actually mean, this keeping it real stuff? And there's two lessons I learned from it. The one is that I noticed that people like different things. Lesson number one. Lesson number two is I might not be able to tell as a creator what that the video that I like watching, that I can recreate that myself. I can't do that. And I got that because after a while I noticed what he meant by keeping it real. For me, when I watch a video, for me, it's really, really, really important that the creator makes me feel like I'm in the scene. And I'm like extremely finicky about that. Extremely. Like the moment you make a drone shot and it feels like you're just so I don't feel like I'm in the scene anymore, right? Because the drone is taken from a bird up there. To me it doesn't feel real. I actually agree with Tokyo Drew's statement about keeping it real, but I disagree on the implementation. For me, it's really important to keep my videos real. For me, it's really important to keep the viewer with me in the room. For me, it's really important when I go travel that I take the viewer with me, along with me. Hey, he's just next to me. And
you just explained Tokyo Drew's keeping it real better than he ever has. I'm going to say that. That's all I'm going to say. So that's what that means.
It's really important to me that for me, it's really important that when I still love and still continue to search for great JVlogs. I love it, because when I go travel in Japan, it's just freaking amazing. Like the feelings I felt that when I was in, when I was in Nara, that was just incredible. I tell you.
I just want to say, so Drew, if you're listening or you're watching, I would love to have you on the show again to talk about, the troubles you've had or things you'd like to clear up or things you'd like to talk about. I apologize if I didn't respond to you, in advance or anything like that. So, I guess this brings me on to the second part of this story. The plot thickens. The second part of this story was, I've been watching Tokyo Sam's live stream, and he's been having this person on called Oriental Pearl. Now, a lot of people on the show, a lot of the times I don't really meet any of these people. A lot of the time it's just me enjoying their content through the internet. And so a lot of the time I want to send them a polite message saying, hey, I think what you do is really cool. You're making content that nobody else is making out there, and I'd like to know how you do it. How do you put these things together? And for the record, I had no idea that the King of Kanto was going to do an episode on Oriental Pearl, which is one of the reasons why she canceled the interview, mostly because her reasoning was that she was afraid that the video or the interview would become trolled. I don't know exactly how you would troll an interview when you're asking. I'm not sure how that even works, but to basically set up what she kind of does is she does like prank videos where I guess this is like this is just what I've seen, because I guess the biggest offense to King of Kanto right now is just that maybe it could just be some things could be seen as fake news. I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not like a lot of us. We don't really have time to like watch all this content because we have busy lives when we become adults and we're given more adult things to do. Yeah. So basically, her overall content, from what I understood from the King of Kanto episode and what I've slowly learned, was that it's all about pranks. That it's like, hey, I'm a white lady and I can speak Chinese and Japanese and I'm going to surprise these people. Of course, this does lead into a big ethical quandary, a big ethical problem of like filming people because, you don't really have their consent. But I mean, sometimes I make the argument that we live in an age of post-privacy, that there's cameras literally everywhere. We give our information up for free just to use some free app.
Hold on.
Yeah?
Hold on. The law in Japan lets you take and shoot everyone you want. The law doesn't forbid that at all.
How do you know this? Explain this.
Because what is forbidden is the upload. You're allowed to take other people's pictures, but you're not allowed to upload them. The point that is outlawed is the upload. Specifically, I think the purpose was specifically to allow for security cameras and so forth.
Okay.
But the moment you upload something to the internet, you make yourself liable. And I actually haven't managed to fully determine the exact rules here. There is one point that is absolutely forbidden. That's portrait. The moment you see a face and that person is the subject of the shot, that's definitely forbidden. The question is if it's fine if it just someone just passes along. You shoot the street and someone passes along. I'm not 100% sure yet if you have to blur out those faces or if they're fine because the subject of the shot is the street. The laws are quite weird about that. But
yeah,
yes,
I find the laws kind of screwy here as well. I'm still trying to figure them out myself. Well, basically, that's kind of the end of the timeline. And I contacted both Drew and Oriental Pearl about this podcast. I told them, I tried to be really transparent about it. I'm going to talk about this, not for the sake of you just, stirring the pot or causing more drama, mostly just to talk about, how I should really be a bit more transparent and, tell people that this show is about, talking about respecting other people's process about how they make the content that they do. So, yeah, so with that in mind, all this is clear, and now we can move on to the next interview. All right, then. So next week on the show is Okawari TV. I forgot what other alias he goes by, but I'm pretty sure it's just that one. Be sure to tune in. I'm not sure when exactly the date is. Be sure to follow me on Twitter or any of the other social medias that you see below. Be sure to join us on Patreon. We got a new patron, Ninjaroo88. Thank you, Ninjaroo, for your patronage. I hope that the content that I produce.
Thank you, Ninjaroo.
Yeah, so I hope the content I produce for this Patreon is entertaining for you because it's the full uncut interviews and other stuff and extra Discord benefits. So, all right, I want to thank everybody for watching. So, until then, I'm Radri and
Jesus man.
Jesus man.
Did you enjoy?